This patch will change Diablo 4 forever. Leveling has changed. Helltides have changed.
Items have changed. Experience has changed drastically. And what the fuck are they doing with scaling?
We're gonna explore exactly why this bomb has dropped, and in the end, ask ourselves, can Blizzard course correct this entire mess? I wonder.
And one of the first things you will notice leveling a new character in the season is that the World Tier 2 bonuses have been increased. Now the bonus gold is up from 15% to 20%, and monsters have a 15% chance to drop more loot. Dude, are you even playing World Tier 2 right now?
Shut the fuck up. No. It's World Tier 1, baby. That's where it's at.
Gotta move to more loot, man. Shut up! And sure, World Tier 2 changes are nice and good, but what happened to the experience, man? Because it kind of changed. Where, as before, you had bonus experience by killing monsters 1, 2, or 3 levels ahead of you. Now that bonus experience has been extended up to 10 levels ahead of you, but it has been considerably nerfed, where now you only get 1.5% bonus XP per extra level, capped at level 10, meaning at 15%, where before you had 15% at 1 level, 20% at 2 levels, and 25% at 3 levels by killing monsters a little bit higher than you. So you get a lot less experience right now. I don't know how this is gonna affect endgame, but it's doesn't feel very good. And maybe you thought, hey, that's nice, I'll just get my friends to boost me, and that's gonna be a non-issue, because I'm just gonna get XP that way. Well, wrong. Because boosting has kind of been gutted as well, since now, when you fight monsters, the bonus XP stops at plus level 10, and monsters stop scaling the bonus XP at 10 levels higher than you, where before, I think the example the devs gave is if you killed, or let's say your party members killed a level 100 monster, you would get that level 100 monster experience with the appropriate tuned to its bonus experience. Now, that level 100 monster is considered level 11 if you're level 1, so it's only 10 levels ahead of you. I'm sorry, man, I cannot boost you.
And all that leveling experience is fine, but that's not all that has changed for the endgame of Diablo 4. Helltides have been addressed. Now, the monsters in Helltides are 3 levels higher than you at all times as opposed to 2 levels, making them a little bit more dangerous, and that's coupled with the fact that the mysterious chests are now even more expensive, costing a total of 250 aberrant cinders, up from 175. And that might just not matter for a lot of people, but for some, it does. And that could probably slightly be mitigated by the fact that aberrant cinders will drop from everything that you can interact with in the Helltides, or at least have a chance to drop. A big change specifically to dungeons, but also world tiers, has been addressed in terms of how the levels of the monsters will scale, specifically in world tiers 3 and 4, where the monsters will begin to trail behind the player, to quote Blizzard, after a certain point, up to a maximum of 5 levels behind. This change does not affect world bosses, Legion events, Fields of Hatreds, Helltides, or Nightmare Dungeons, since obviously Helltides are 3 levels above the player, and Nightmare Dungeons always have the levels of the monsters assigned to their key thing, the sigil, let's say, that gets you inside the actual dungeon. The example that the devs have given for World Tier 3, for instance, is if that the player is below level 55, the monsters will be level 55, because there is a minimum benchmarks for what level the monsters can be in World Tiers 3 and 4. Now, once the player starts going over the level 55, they will remain level 55 until the player hits level 61, at which points the monsters will be 56, aka 61 minus 5, 56, 5 levels behind the player, and it will keep growing one at a time as the player levels up to always be behind the player with about 5 levels. This essentially is a slingshot system that's just trailing 5 levels behind. Up until you reach those 5 levels difference, you will see yourself or feel yourself increase in player power, which is something that we definitely want, because we want to make sure that, leveling is impactful, essentially, gives us more power and we can, just tackle stuff. But once you're within that 5 level difference, the relative strength of the monsters does not change. So you will get back into the same issue where as you level, the power between you and the monsters does not increase whatsoever unless there's some like weird scaling. They're just essentially weaker overall, and the only time you will feel like you're getting stronger is within those 5 level brackets. Similarly to World Tier 3, World Tier 4 will start at level 75, aka until you're like 81, the monsters will be 75 and then they will start trailing behind you. Although the intention is definitely great because we do like to feel like as we're leveling that we're getting better and better and stronger relative to the world, and I think this could have probably been fixed with maybe a higher difficulty world tier, maybe like a world tier 5 that's, I don't know, enabled at a level like 90 or something like that, and just keep monsters never scaling, just keep them flat at 75. Sure, this will probably reduce the amount of XP, but XP can be just buffed across the board so that it compensates the lack of XP scaling for the monsters. That way we can get that Diablo 2 like feel where people keep grinding levels up to level 99, where the monsters just stop leveling way before that. And maybe some of the most impactful changes have come to the actual items of the game. Although maybe not that relevant, the Butcher's Cleaver slow is increased from 40 to 75% in terms of its scaling to 61 to 75% in terms of its scaling. I don't think this is going to make it worth using, but hey, if they can constantly incrementally buff this little by little until it becomes an actual item that you would like to use, then that's just great. But the drop rate has been adjusted for a lot of other things. First of all, the bonus drops of ancestral and sacred items in Nightmare Dungeons has been buffed from a plus 5% increase chance to a plus 10%, which is great. But they have nerfed the open world elite monsters to have a 20% reduced chance to drop an extra equipment item when you kill them. And that's only for situations outside of Nightmare Dungeons and Helltides, while within Nightmare Dungeons and Helltides, the chance for monsters to drop an extra equipment item has been increased by 10%. Nightmare Dungeons now will also have a 50% chance to drop a second legendary item upon completion. This is big. This essentially solidifies the fact that you will do Dungeons and Helltides for extra gear almost all of the time. I don't know if you might want to do Nightmare Dungeons over Helltides. The Helltides giving you the mysterious chest with a lot of legendary drop chance is still going to be very good for all of the items that you can accumulate. However, the fact that you're probably going to be spamming Nightmare Dungeons over and over again, the fact that you can get 50% more legendaries, obviously it's just more loot and it starts to clog up your inventory, so that enables a whole different set of issues that hasn't been addressed whatsoever, can essentially make it so that you can get legendaries a little bit quicker and get your player power a little bit quicker, potentially offsetting the fact that experience has kind of overall been nerfed across the board. Now, is that enough to compensate? Obviously, we have the Malignant Hearts, which we haven't touched in this video. We will touch it in the future. That will give player power as well. In an ideal world, we probably don't want billions and undecillion numbers on the screen to just like fill up all these ridiculous damage scaling. Sure, and that's also been addressed, and we're gonna talk about that in a different video as well. But we kind of have been nerfed in terms of how quickly we can get to level 100, unless there are other external factors that are going to be boosting the XP gain that are not featured, calculated into all of these changes eventually. But for anybody who is not playing Season 1, you probably won't have access to those. So Eternal Realm players, good luck, because it's gonna take a long time to level. But hey, that's not particularly an issue because we have leveling guides for you. You can check this particular Barbarian leveling guides. Even though Hammer of the Ancients has been fixed, you can still slap with Hammer of the Ancients and level really quickly with Barbarian. And it's fun because you smash things.